Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on another video from Seth the Programmer, and today we're checking out Goku versus Naruto versus Ichigo versus Luffy. This is a bit of a weird one for me because Goku just wins, surely. The way I look at this, if you're going to power scale, let's do some loose power scaling right now. Goku can blow up planets. No one else can. Regardless, Goku can blow up planets, so, yeah. And before we get into this, make sure you check out my Etsy shop. I've got t-shirts and hoodies selling there. I've got some interesting designs there and interesting ones on the way. I'm adding stuff every other week. But let's get into this. Goku versus Naruto versus Ichigo versus Luffy.
Naruto Uzumaki, Ichigo Kurosaki, and Monkey D. Luffy, the big three of the battle shonen genre that have a rivalry in everything from their influence to even the versus battle medium, being pretty much the heaviest debated characters outside of Son Goku, who almost birthed the entire genre, period. For this video, we're going to be doing a two-parter. In this first part, we're going to be comparing these four in their first parts up to about chapter 220 for each, as that's where I'm in One Piece, to be fair, at the moment. Also,
Oh, Seth's catching up with One Piece as well. Alright, interesting.
over many other
It's about time everyone got onto this train.
examples of where each would stack up in each other's verse at their respective powers, so don't worry if you think one character stomps the rest here. We will be comparing them for a ton of different moments throughout the original 220s, and
I still think Goku's got it the whole time, but okay.
there will be a lot to learn and enjoy in this video, so do sit back and enjoy. We'll start off with Goku, since he is the outlier among the big three, being the only one not in it, always lumped in. He's also definitely the least complicated by far to explain, so let's just get him out of the way.
Cool.
I'll go into more detail about him a bit later, but around chapter 220 of Dragon Ball is technically in the Saiyan saga, most specifically
He can definitely blow up planets here.
when Goku is coming back from King Kai's to face the Saiyans.
Like Vegeta's about to blow up the planet, and Goku fights against that. So yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. But to stay with the theme of the video, we'll be bumping Goku back to chapter 194, or the end of the 23rd Budokai arc. I'll go over his Saiyan Saga strength a bit later as well for those irked by this, and the easiest way to scale Goku in his fight with Ma Jr. or Piccolo Jr. is to just use the Daizenshu statement of Sun's Super Kamehameha possessing the power to shatter the moon. In V-Jump, this
There we go. Okay.
Goku actually possesses a power level of 910, and using this technique, which many people don't know, and not only does Junior actually tank an attack that can shatter the moon, but he does this while arguably still weighted. Even the likes of all the fighters at the tournament, if there were 100 of them alongside Kami, couldn't take Piccolo Jr. when he is at peak exhaustion. And this is Junior that says this, however, Master Roshi actually agrees with Piccolo's statement. Yet Goku, while completely crippled and with a massive hole in his torso, can defeat Junior with just a headbutt.
Yep.
Those fighters earlier did consist of Roshi, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and alongside Kami. Roshi being confirmed multiple times, even being shown to be able to vaporize the moon, with Kami being able to recreate the moon using Shenron, a being that can't output more power than his creator. Yet Goku's headbutt, while completely crippled, is the only thing that can stop Junior at all. Kami also loses sight of Goku fighting Junior completely and can't even see them, and this is interesting as Popo, Kami's attendant, who is also weaker than Kami at this point, wants Goku to move faster than lightning while being calm of heart. And in the anime, this is literally shown with Goku having to wear a crown that attracts lightning to him while he trains.
Wow,
however, it gets worse when you realize that even during much earlier arcs, such as the Red Ribbon Army, Goku faces the Battle Jacket. The Battle Jacket is a device that is capable of what the Daizenshu describes as shooting beam guns and or lasers, with many thinking beam guns are at the speed of light, with laser guns almost usually always being at the speed of light as well. In Dragon Ball Forever, another Dragon Ball guide, it actually says that the Battle Jacket straight up just shoots lasers instead of beam guns. Piccolo, also while weighted and still probably weaker than
blows up the moon straight away.
Raditz blows up the moon in a matter of seconds, with it taking light about 1.2 seconds to reach the moon, and with Roshi also destroying the moon with a power level less than 180, or less than 260 max. If you remember, Roshi can't beat King Piccolo no matter what. And this 23rd Budokai Goku can hit a full-on 910 with the Super Kamehameha, making 23rd Budokai Goku at least able to shatter the moon and move faster than lightning, with higher interpretations allowing him to blow up the moon many times over and move even faster than light speed, possibly by multiple times depending on who you ask. That's a pretty hard power to beat by 220 chapters of a battle shown.
Yeah, interesting to see where we go with the rest here.
But it's not impossible. Once again, even if it isn't possible for certain characters, I'll list where I think they do actually stack up to each other in their own series, so do enjoy. We'll go over Naruto next, since he is the
Interesting.
next easiest to explain, but you'll start to see where it gets a bit more complicated. Naruto, by chapter 220, is directly in Sasuke's flashback of his brother Itachi, and during this first clash of Naruto and Sasuke at the Final Valley, the last part of part 1 of Naruto.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's 220 as well. Cool, cool, cool.
Naruto has a lot of avenues of scaling here to go over, and I'd actually recommend my video on Naruto and Sasuke
Good one.
versus Gon
That
and
is a good
Killua
video.
from Hunter x Hunter if you want an even more in-depth breakdown. We can also go over some potential highballs for Naruto that might be interesting as well that video doesn't have. The most obvious forms of scaling of part 1 Naruto are him scaling way above base Sasuke's fireball jutsu from the start of the series during the Bell test, which vaporizes a crater in an attempt to damage Kakashi.
Which is fire. Like, it's destroying solid matter.
And the older Naruto databooks actually confirm that Sasuke's fireball jutsu works via vaporization. It actually vaporizes what it touches, and these vaporizing fireballs slam right into Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, Gaara in his pseudo Jinchuriki form, and in this case, the ground, which has been calced to being around 77 billion joules in terms of energy, or
Jesus
enough energy
Christ.
to level a city block concentrated into one tiny area. And there are more calcs like this, such as Naruto stopping a massive summoning Orochimaru snake, Choji and Jorobo's Titanic Clash, and so much more. But the obvious line of scaling for Naruto to make him even relevant here is his much higher interpretation of his KM0 or QB Mode 0 enraged state
Whenever
against
he's got
Haku,
QB
or his
going on,
ultimate
yeah.
state against Sasuke
Oh,
in the
mate,
Final
what a
Valley.
fight. Yeah,
Naruto is a character who has a ton of chakra, even more chakra than his sensei Kakashi Hatake, and pretty much anybody Neji Hyuga has ever seen with his
Because
Byakugan,
the
which
Uzumaki
can
clan
assess
was,
chakra
like,
levels. The only problem Naruto has is his ability to actually use and access this huge chakra arsenal accurately to amplify his abilities and jutsu, and that's why when he is protecting those close to him or becomes truly motivated, he becomes absurdly powerful and gets that main character kind of vibe compared to his normal, goofy, and even jokably weak self. Compare him making a few clones against Zabuza to making 1,000 against Mizuki, even comparing the toads he can summon, a tadpole compared to a mountain-sized Gamabunta. This is important because Zabuza thinks that even if he is taken out by Kakashi or someone else, that Haku will still be too much for them, and
definitely,
he
'cause-
is saying that
Well, yeah,
Haku is
'cause Haku's the strongest of the two.
much more skilled than he is, and in this case, and I've had this argument a few times, there is definitely ways to debate about this. Haku, in my opinion, and a few others I talked to, is an overall stronger combatant than Zabuza
Oh, yeah. How could you not think that?
with his ice mirrors, and this is actually demonstrated multiple times when Haku not only blitzes Sharingan Kakashi with his lightning blade, which is an amped level of Kakashi's speed, making him clearly faster than Zabuza and more perceptive. He also can hold Kakashi to him while basically half dead, which wouldn't really make any sense if he is like 1/10,000th of Kakashi's power or something. When he has Edo Tensei later, he can even react and block kicks from Might Guy and Rock Lee at the same time, despite being more than likely nerfed, and Guy being Kakashi's overall rival. Even the power Naruto displays to defeat Haku is actually too much to be Kakashi in Zabuza's eyes, and it's clearly an indicator of Naruto's hidden demons that he will be using to face some top tiers in the verse later in the series. This level that allows Naruto to hit this Zabuza Part 1 Kakashi and more than likely Kabuto level combatant are important, as the scaling chain for them gets really absurd. Remember that Kabuto could swap hands with base Tsunade to start off with, albeit he was at a losing end. But this amp Naruto can then summon Gamabunta. Gamabunta, who is able to face down against Manda, a sage snake, who
So sick.
Kabuto is actually sort of scared of and worries for Orochimaru's safety in
He's like, are you sure this is okay?
his current condition with Manda around. And considering Jiraiya and Orochimaru in the data books are stated to be, and were pretty much shown overall equals or rivals in part 1, it's fair to say that when they have a pretty pitched battle in the Sannin showdown a little bit later, they are probably nerfed to a pretty similar degree, with Jiraiya saying in the anime at least, which is the only indicator of the actual number we actually have, that the poison Tsunade nerfed his powers with brought him to about 30% of his overall ability. If Gamabunta and Manda are over 30% of a Sannin in base and can face down against the one-tailed Bijou, he reaches an astronomically high level of power, where Sannin, like Orochimaru even back in the day, were recruited into the Akatsuki, a band of shinobi meant to be able to fight and take down Jinchuriki and Bijou, or Tailed Beast. Bijou being able to output attacks that can level anything from mountains, islands, to even sometimes continents on the extreme, and depending on who you get to calc certain things they do. Gamabunta even being a fraction of any of that is quite an insane amount of power jump for Naruto to have in his arsenal, especially in part 1, but it can get quite higher. Remember in the data books and so much more that the Nine Tails is an entity that resides in Naruto that can then turn the world to ash, and that's important as if you believe the Nine Tails is even a moderate fraction of the power or chakra supply of, say, Kaguya or the Ten Tails, it may.
This is where the argument comes in that you can go up against Goku, isn't it? That if they say the Nine Tails can just, like, destroy the world.
A somewhat apply to Naruto, and this is going to be kind of a weird train of thought, so stay with me on this.
Okay.
Take, for instance, those that think Kaguya's realms are infinite time spaces or their own mini-universes that she can nuke out of existence using her expansive truth-seeking orb. If the Nine Tails is even an utter fraction or piece of a being who can nuke universal time spaces that may or may not be infinite in size, then Naruto even getting almost any amount of power from the Nine Tails would be so utterly insane and unquantifiable, I don't even want to actually say what it might be out loud. Maybe that's why Urashiki got a little shook in that Boruto filler, eh? But seriously, wank aside, as that is wanking. Some people actually, unironically believe that, by the way. That's about what you could possibly wank Naruto to be in part 1, while Giga Ant and just taking everything to the extreme. It seems normally part 1 Naruto, in a more grounded interpretation, would fit around the 21st Budokai of Dragon Ball.
Right, okay. Yeah.
To maybe the Red Ribbon Army eras, with him being seriously outmatched by around the 22nd Budokai. And in terms of speed...
But when we get to, like, Saiyan Saga, I don't think Naruto's got anything there.
Naruto scales to Haku while enraged, although Haku is actually still faster than even enraged Naruto, with Haku being stated to be able to move at light speed with his ice mirrors, and he scales far above characters who can react to sound waves like Tamari did versus Tuyuya, and probably scales above lightning to probably many times over if you think while enraged he should be able to take down the likes of a much younger Kakashi who did just that to get the lightning cutter name to begin with. Even scaling to a 30% Sannin, Orochimaru is confident at full power he can take down Hiruzen, who scales above the 4th Raikage and all the Kage in part 1, who can lariat at light speed while suppressed, is also telling, especially since the lariat is an ability that apparently you have to move at light speed to perform even back in the day. Yeah. Overall, though, I still think him facing off in the 21st Budokai would probably be interesting, although Roshi would, let's be honest, he would easily punk him out if he was bloodlusted at full power at the very maximum. Dude, he kind of erased the moon from reality. But him versus 21st Budokai Goku would be an interesting matchup at the very least. You have to remember, Roshi at full...
Yeah, but I thought we were doing up to the... Right, okay. He said chapter 220, and didn't he say that was the Saiyan Saga?
Full power is actually stronger than Goku, even as an Uzaru, which many people don't realize is Goku times 10. And even then, Roshi was implied to be able to defeat him and then destroy the moon. So Roshi's a bit of an outlier there. And of course, this isn't Uzaru Goku we're talking about. What do you guys think, though? I mean, you gotta remember that Goku just started scaring Roshi around the Red Ribbon Army invasion, where he wasn't totally sure if he could replicate what Goku was doing versus Mercenary Tao and then the Red Ribbon base. And 22nd Budokai is where he kind of feels like he's able to pass the torch a bit more. He tries to guide the next generation into, like, taking the throne, per se. And personally, I just can't see Naruto ever competing even remotely to a dude that can just straight up nuke the moon on a whim,
exactly.
Unless you take that Giga Wank Nine Tails argument where he might just be infinite powered and universal, but hey, some people do. But maybe Naruto is also just too fast, even without that power interpretation. Or maybe he had grabbed his tail while being faster and learned his weakness was his tail, even accidentally, as he is a pretty playful fighter and has a bunch of clones that will probably grab it eventually.
Yeah.
And around this time, Goku still hasn't mastered his tail weakness, so... who knows, maybe that is something that would happen, especially if you don't think that Goku even reaches lightning level until the 23rd Budokai, and you kind of ignore the laser beam gun arguments for the 22nd. But that's all there is really to say for Naruto. Ichigo Kurosaki's journey
that Bleach music straight away. Cool.
On chapter 220 lands him around his first battle against Grimmjow, a bit after...
Ooh, Okay.
His battle against Byakuya.
I think Ichigo's beating Naruto here, but I still think Goku's got this.
In the Soul Society arc. It is also the arc he really tames his hollow mask and even turns into a hollow Ichigo that faces off against a strong visored named Love. So I'm just going to be straight up honest. Ichigo is so chaotic in terms of his scaling chains you can go with that this series shouldn't even be called Bleach. It should probably be called Wank. Now, the more grounded interpretations of early Ichigo's scaling, especially around the Soul Society arc, tend to be centered around Hitsugaya's Bankai and its ability to control the weather, and that Ichigo should scale quite a bit above it, doing what Soifon considers the impossible feat of stopping the power of 1 million Zanpakutos on Sokyoku Hill, and the way Hitsugaya tends to rank up in the scaling chain until he trains quite a bit leading up to his battle against Haribel in the fake Karakura town arc. Even then, still being outranked by quite a few people, so sort of nodding that stopping the Sokyoku even in its initial 1 million power phase, especially with just a Shikai, is more impressive than what Hitsugaya does with his Bankai. And I'll also get more into that 1 million part later, and Hitsugaya's Bankai, Hyorimaru, essentially creates massive storm clouds and sort of controls the weather, with it also being stated to be the strongest ice type Zanpakuto.
I mean, if we're talking about fighting Grimjow and he's using his holification... Oh, we're not talking... We're not talking. What's the form called where it's just fully the? I can't remember that. Whatever.
Even in the Soul
I was about
Society
to
arc.
say like how Grimjow and all the other Espada are told to not use a certain technique because of the blast radius that it would have destroy it within Hueco Mundo, and the Vasta Lorde form. I don't think we're not quite up to Vasta Lorde here, are we? So I still think Ichigo would beat Naruto at this point, though.
Basically,
But not Goku.
these calculations of it work in a way that calculates how much energy is required to actually vacuum in a storm or generate a storm with that much energy and size, with many people calculating this storm that appears in just 2 seconds using the anime to require over 2.8 to 10 to the 18 joules, which, if y'all aren't Giga nerds or don't know a lot about joules, is basically more than the amount of energy it would take to annihilate a mountain. Considering Ichigo probably outscales early Hitsugaya by this point, even folding Ryusai's vice captain with literally his bare hands, and we saw what that guy was capable of in the anime. Sure. Ichigo should probably be in this storm's range, and mountain range as well. And for those that aren't totally interested in Bleach, a little fun fact for you guys, or even a lesson here, is to look at your favorite series that may seem weak, but generally...
It doesn't fit them on the screen, but okay. Just make the text a little bit smaller. I'm not gonna make the joke. But Seth did say he was gonna start editing his own videos.
Generates massive storms. Think of, just off the dome, maybe like Sekiro and how its combatants like Genichiro and Ishin can summon these massive storms instantly that engulf the horizon, or All Might easily blowing one away with a punch, or etc. It doesn't just apply to Bleach, so have fun with that knowledge. But these storm ranges, alongside the first data book, Bleach Unmasked 1, stating he moves as fast as lightning to attack Byakuya, while suppressed, by the way, usually have people with a very lowballed and grounded interpretation of Ichigo. So probably stronger than Part 1 Naruto, but weaker than Gamabunta, and sort of around that Red Ribbon Army Goku range still, depending on how much you think Goku scales to Roshi's full power, give or take. Unless you think that destroying mountains and beyond is actually above Bijou level, which some people do argue, as Madara, when he blew away mountains just by swinging his sword, and the Kage were gasping in disbelief, and how no one could really believe the Bijou were just vaporizing mountains and were just totally shocked and all that. But I've seen all those arguments before. Of course, they are definitely above the mountain range level. Due to the massive consistency of feats above that, you can count sort of like Madara's Tengai Shinsei and how Inoki and Gaara kind of caught it. But if you do, then Ichigo would probably be above Gamabunta and Part 1 Naruto, but that's only if you take that honestly pretty grounded interpretation of Ichigo's scaling, and that's just the Soul Society. But something seriously important happens almost exactly on Chapter 220, and remember how I said this series should be called Wank? Well, buckle up.
What happens in 220?
Chapter 220 is when Ichigo is mastering his holification with the Vizards after facing off against Espada number 6 Grimjow for the first time, and during his first encounter with Grimjow, he actually manages to damage him a bit with his Getsuga, while Grimjow underestimates him a bit. However, it should be noted that Grimmjow actually still found the power that damaged him to still be somewhat worthy and memorable and wants to face it again later. Grimmjow is the same guy who even in base can fire off an attack that all Espada are restricted from using.
That's what I was talking about. They're not allowed to because it's so destructive.
Within Las Noches, called the Gran Racero.
What did I call the place? It's Los Noches. What did I call it? God.
A blast that can potentially just
Waco Mundo. Oh no, yeah. Isn't that within Waco Mundo? Los Noches is within. I think I'm right. God, I doubt myself so much sometimes.
destroy Las Noches and even tear and distort space. Las Noches is so huge that it takes days even for beings that are possibly hypersonic to travel. And even if you just equate days,
It is Waco Mundo, isn't it? Oh my god, I'm just constantly doubting myself now. But anyway,
it's just the speed of an average human walking. This would
I think that's what happens is when I say something wrong, I know someone's going to leave a comment, and then it just makes me feel dumb, but I need to just get past that. It's been years now. I need to get past that. I know,
make Las Noches even larger than Sacramento to Los Angeles, California in our real world,
It's
or over
big
341
place.
kilometers, with that only being the radius, hence it being what it takes to reach it, making Las Noches' diameter over 682 kilometers and its circumference 2,100 square kilometers, with highballs reaching up to around 3,000. If you think it takes 3 days of walking to reach it as a normal human, let alone these superhuman death gods. So this is a very fair lowball of its size. 2,100 to almost 3,100 square kilometers would make it around a bit smaller, but very close to Rhode Island, USA. This is important as the Gran Racero of any Espada is forbidden, as it can destroy all of Las Noches, and even though Ichigo doesn't scale exactly to Grimmjow at this point, it's sort of similar to Gamabunta, still scaling enough to say the Bijou to be able to fight or even hinder them even remotely.
So
being
actually, like,
impressive.
put up a bit of a,
Remember,
like,
a wall
attack,
level
yeah.
dude can't really budge a guy that can nuke Rhode Island. Common sense. Destroying Rhode Island, or Las Noches in this case, would require in many calcs to be up to 10 to the 21 joules of energy, which would be around enough to destroy a large island if you think he could pulverize it, and up to 10 to the 24 joules of energy, which is around enough to destroy some countries condensed in a small area if he could utterly just vaporize it.
Mathematics.
Ichigo, like Gamabunta to the Bijou, would of course be a bit weaker than Grimmjow's Gran Racero, possibly 10s to even over 100 times, but being 100 times give or
It's going to be interesting to see the One Piece scaling.
take or whatever weaker
Like, how does Luffy do anything against any of these guys?
than a guy who can maybe vaporize Rhode Island
Especially if we're just doing the first 220 chapters.
is still pretty good, but Ichigo still has more. In 220, when he's mastering his holification, he does in fact face off against a Visor named Love. In his holo form, he goes on a rampage and is stated that Love has to holify, or else Ichigo will straight up basically kill him with his one attack. Love is the same guy who faces off against an arguably mentally nerfed Primera Espada named Stark.
So
and however,
cool.
Stark still
Stark's the sickest.
considers Love a strong opponent, that he will have to put some effort into it and even sacrifices pieces of his own soul to actually face him. Albeit Love is not only holified, but also using Shikai and so forth, which Love actually survives many explosions of. Stark being Espada number 1 means that even him transforming can possibly destroy Las Noches, let alone his maximum attack potency. Now this isn't to say Ichigo is Primera Espada level. We clearly see him get and struggle with Espada number 6, let alone the Primera, or anything like that, but it further shows that Ichigo is probably a bit beyond that Hitagaya calc earlier. It's even worse if you think that Stark is above second release Ukiura, but that is heavily debatable. But if you think that Aizen ranked the Espada even with that second release in mind, then Stark might be able to face off against a guy who was originally supposed to fight Vasto Lord Ichigo a bit before getting annihilated, who is a being who may be a threat to the entire world. I wouldn't personally go that route, so I'm not even going to go into detail.
I mean, they did mention the Vasto Lorde could destroy all of Hell, potentially, and when you take the size of Hell... Yeah, but we're not up to...
But you'd be surprised what people will say. Shinji also states that Ichigo's
Excuse
spiritual
me.
pressure can be felt around the world even before he did his holification training. Finally, Ichigo gets a massive scaling chain with the Sokyoku I mentioned earlier. The Sokyoku in Lord Aizen letter to Momo says that it is capable of destroying the entire Soul Society. The Sokyoku usually outputs around 1 million Zanpakuto's worth of power to execute a criminal, but can output
Crazy.
several dozens more if needed. Several meaning 3, and dozens meaning 12, meaning it can output probably
Why does several mean 3? That's so weird. Alright.
over 36 million Zanpakuto.
I get that a dozen is 12. Baker's dozen's 13. There's a little fact for you.
Zanpakuto's worth of power, which is apparently something Aizen
Weird. If someone says several to me, I'd be doing it in sevens.
uses to convince Momo and possibly even Hitsugaya is capable of destroying the Soul Society. Or if you think that this 36 multiplication is what allows it to reach 1 million, which makes this even crazier. The data book Unmasked 1 says that Ichigo doesn't face this 36 million version, but he does, however, and is confirmed to overpower 1 million Zanpakuto's worth of strength, and this is also confirmed by Soifon. Now, it is only stated in a manipulative letter by Aizen that it can do this, but it is convincing to people that do know about it. With Hitsugaya, after reading the letter, only questioning Aizen telling Momo to attack him as strange, not the fact that this Sokyoku could destroy the Soul Society. The Soul Society in Databook 1 is a parallel to Earth, and compared to our real world, may actually be a bit bigger if you go down certain scaling lines and certain things that happen. It can go all the way to some even thinking it's infinitely sized using the canon movie Memories of Nobody,
What a film, man.
where a dimension that is comprised of infinite souls called blanks are going to combine and overlap and distort the Soul Society, causing imbalances. Yet the
Also, dimensions with infinite blanks. Yeah. Great film. The Project Mouthwash is a abridged version of that film's awesome as well.
Soul Society is still considered bigger
I
than
remember
it,
crying
despite
watching
holding
that, man.
infinite souls. There are also some things that say Waco Mundo has infinite sand, and these things are possibly larger than a possibly infinite Mukin, or the Black Realm that Kenpachi faces off against Unohana in a very famous new anime fight. So if Ichigo can
I need to watch. I haven't watched any 1,000 Year Blood War. I need to use my friend's Disney Plus login. He sent it me, and I just haven't.
even contend with a fraction
Putting 3 videos out a day has been very time consuming.
or even 1/36th of the Sokyoku that can destroy this realm, it has pretty heavy connotations. Personally, I think infinite usually means very great, and I apply that to any fiction I'm talking about. And with the Mukin, there are some statements that it fools you into thinking it's infinitely sized in data books, but even just downplaying the Soul Society to just being Earth-sized, 1/36th of that would put the Sokyoku, while even suppressed, to have enough energy to destroy a moon to even a small planet.
It's interesting. I'm looking at how much time's left on this video, and we haven't got onto Luffy. It's bless. There isn't going to be much to talk about compared to these 3 when it comes to Luffy, is it?
With it taking 10 to the 32
Damn.
joules of energy to overpower the GBE, or the gravitational binding energy of Earth, to it taking 10 to the 29 joules to overpower the moons, or up to 10 to the 30th for even some small planets. Considering Ichigo would only be 1/36th and up to almost 1/3 using his fake Bankai if you think it gave him a 10 times multiplier, as hinted at by Yoruichi's statement of 5 to 10 times multiplication being what she's aiming for with this transformation, and possibly even higher with this hollow mask that can also amplify his power to a similar degree as Resurrection in the Arrancar arc, which is like another Bankai increase, as stated by Urahara during the war. Then Ichigo, while really wanked, I just want to make that clear, I do believe that this is very high interpretations, might straight up be able to destroy a planet and then some, even by chapter 220, up to a f***ing universe if you think it's infinite in size. Even in Memories of Nobody, a character named Senna is able to move away the Soul Society in the living world, and also shows planet manipulation scale sorts of feats, with some scaling the manipulation of these souls and the creation of a dimension to require as much energy as it would take to destroy a small star. And while Ichigo doesn't necessarily scale fully to it, it's crazy that, the Soul Society might be larger than this. While I personally would go more with that grounded, weaker than Gran Racero scaling and more of the Rhode Island angle, that is possible. By chapter 220 of One Piece, we find...
Here we go. Okay.
Find ourselves right after Luffy.
Sorry, Luffy ain't doing anything to any of these guys right now. at all.
Luffy finally takes down Crocodile at the end of Alabasta.
Oh, mate, is that what we're up to? He ain't doing anything.
For those that have been patiently waiting for this, I hate to say it, but my boy Luffy is getting absolutely shit on. But I'll still go over what it looks like for those interested. The main two ways to scale Luffy's power by the point of Chapter 220 is to scale into the Buggy Balls. And the Buggy Balls are special cannonballs that Buggy the Clown shoots from a cannon to sort of nuke small towns out of existence to assert dominance. These are pretty self-explanatory, but the most important line of scaling as Luffy, as do any other pirates that sail the seas, they get stronger on every adventure, and during this last one against Crocodile, his scaling gets a bit higher, and Crocodile's Devil Fruit, the Sand Fruit, gives him the ability...
Well, yeah, because he nearly dies, doesn't he? And then, he comes back, and it's like, let's go! I have water now!
...to sap the moisture out of numerous things until he literally turns it into sand. Using this, he is capable of using his Desert Spada to destroy the Alubarna Royal Garden via desiccation, which is calced to being around needing anywhere from 10 to the 12 to 10 to the 14 joules of energy, which is enough to destroy towns, which fits in pretty well with the Buggy Balls being able to destroy small towns and Luffy and Buggy scaling above those. There are other insane high balls of Crocodile though, such as if he were draining the moisture from all of Alabasta and then more itself. Hence why when he's defeated it begins to rain in numerous places. Using these higher ball calculations, Crocodile's Sand Fruit may be able to...
But the theory.
Be scaling above those. There are other insane high balls of Crocodile though, such as if he were draining the moisture from all of Alabasta and then more itself. Hence why when he's defeated it begins to rain and...
Not necessarily. The theory.
Numerous places. Using these higher ball calculations, Crocodile's Sand Fruit may be able to affect the environment on a scale that will require over 10 to the 15 to 10 to the 16 joules of energy to perform.
I can't remember her name, but she's meant to like unintentionally have a power or something. That's a theory that's out there.
As Alabasta Kingdom itself is probably a place of over 5 kilometers in diameter, as Crocodile wanted to create a bomb to destroy that area, and he may have to weather manipulate this entire area and then some to gain influence, possibly extending far outside of it. And this would put him more in the ranges of exerting enough energy to contend with forces that can destroy small cities to sometimes normal-sized cities. However, he himself can only exert that much energy with a very particular hacks that absorbs moisture. That is how much it would take to do so. And in terms of speed, we know Zoro during Whiskey Peak, which is almost 100 chapters before this, who Luffy scales to as they literally fight during this arc, which is actually one of the moments that made me start to get into One Piece, is able to completely vanish from the sight of many beyond human level bounty hunters.
Interesting that that fight got him into it. A lot of people hate that moment.
There's almost instantly to beyond another person, which has been calculated as needing a speed of around Mach 37, with there being a multitude of feats similar to this throughout the early arcs of One Piece. But to highball Luffy, if you want to, you could say that he's on the verge of being almost as strong as he is in chapter 300-ish, give or take, and he has like vague strength gains after Alabasta's...
Music's weird.
To this point. It is a massive stretch though, and wouldn't work in an argument, but if you wanted to do it, it is pretty shortly after near around chapter 320, and while nerfed, Luffy is shown avoiding possible light speed attacks and then some, as I've been told, as I've only read up to 220. So it seems like One Piece gets a huge power up in the chapters after 220, unfortunately for this video. However, fortunately for all of us, I'd love to go into more of that in the future, as even in Skypiea, they go from Mach 37 to all the way to Mach 139, once again, very...
Skypiea is so good.
Easily. But for now, that's all there is to really say. In conclusion, I'd personally have it go Goku, then...
Yeah, and then Ichigo. I'm going to do this now. So Goku's at the top. He's probably going to prove me wrong. So it's Goku, then it's Ichigo, Naruto, Luffy.
Ichigo, then Naruto, then Luffy.
Yeah, there you go.
With Ichigo possibly being the strongest if you were more charitable with that Sokyoku and scaling and so on. And have Ichigo and sort of fodder-ish characters in Bleach able to avoid light beams like the Menos Grandes.
It's definitely right. That order is right.
Negations, and equate those to actual just normal light speed level attacks and phenomena they would scale dozens of times above easily in speed. As a fun little bonus, and to give a little credit to Luffy, going by chapter 1 only, Luffy would probably be the strongest, scaling to the Buggy Cannon, and being around Mach 5 due to dodging many enhanced bullets, and Naruto would probably be the second strongest, jokingly saying he's Mach 5 later on, although probably not because of the Sound Ninja later being apparently too fast, and scaling above Sasuke's Fireball Jutsu I went over earlier. Then it would probably go Goku, who launches Yamcha through a bunch of pillars like an artillery round, and then Ichigo, who is kind of struggling with like telephone pole level hollows.
Alright, that's quite fun to do that. Alright.
Not joking, by the way. Well, not really struggling, but they don't really have any feats other than Chad slamming one over the head
with a
telephone pole.
Right, okay.
Unless you think Goku breaking the manga panel is just strong as fuck.
Damn, he breaking the fourth freaking wall.
Which I guess. Anyways, thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want a part 2. Do let me know if you do want that, and thank you for watching.
Sick. That was a good video. I like that. Goku definitely wins the whole round, like, time though. Like, well, except for those, like, that first chapter thing. That's quite fun. But, yeah. That was cool. Yeah, some interesting ones on Ichigo. Like you said, he was highballing, so that's fair. Sometimes you got to. But poor Luffy, he just ain't. He just ain't doing anything, man. But anyway, make sure you check out my Etsy shop. We've got t-shirts and hoodies selling at the moment. I'll be adding new designs every other week. And thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month supports designs. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for that. And thank you all for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know that I should watch discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.